This was also interesting. Again, as we talk about regulations, rules, all these different types of things, we were just talking to Patches about the tweet from Brady regarding the importance of getting community nodes online to decentralize the ecosystem. Patches also brought up a great point, which was a lot of it comes down to how the proxies to the network are handled. Because as we recall, when there was that major hack on Hedera over a year ago, March something last year, right, there was that exploit where I think it was like $600,000 was stolen from Pangolin and whatever. Like there's a whole thing about it. But basically, what Hedera was able to do was, instead of shutting down the network, they were able to shut down the proxies, which meant that the network functioned normally, but nobody could submit a transaction to the network from the outside. And I mean, that was a very extreme measure, ultimately, that I think was the right decision. But the issue is, based off of, this information that, like I was talking about, or not this information, sorry, the other post that I share with Patches, that Brady referred to, which was kind of the Howey test of like, you can't have admin control over a network. It has to be decentralized. Like that hack in Hedera, you could classify in that case Hedera having admin control over the network because they were able to shut down proxies. So nuanced stuff, but worth mentioning. But on the flip side of it, like, what about Hedera makes it more resilient to some of these regulations and some of the risk that maybe comes along with those? And this was a post shared by Parabolic HBAR, Sivo, legendary community member. And what he's referencing here is the news that the European Union declares maximum extractable value as a clear example of illegal market abuse under the upcoming MICA rules. So MICA is the European regulatory package that will kind of dictate the treatment of crypto in Europe. And so if they've determined that MEV is this much of a risk to the market, that's really important. And when you look at the networks out there, every crypto network out there, with the exception of maybe, I don't know how many others, but they all have maximum extractable value, and they kind of treat it as a feature, which is strange because the whole purpose of DLT, the whole purpose of crypto is fair ordering of transactions, right? Ensuring that nobody gets favor when a transaction comes to consensus by the network. So that is something that is is definitely an obstacle for other networks having MEV. But what's interesting, and what Sivo very well points out, is Hedera solved this, and what that means is there actually isn't maximum extractable value on Hedera. It just isn't a component of the network. It isn't something that's possible strictly because of how the network's architected. And Brady, at the time he was at Swirlds, and he did a post about this. And it's a key part of Hedera. And again, if this is really a make or break thing from a regulatory standpoint for these networks, then Hedera is in really good shape because Hedera just does not have MEV. And it can be argued again, MEV can exist on a layer 2 or particular application or whatever. That's not what this is about. What this is about is at the protocol layer, at the layer 1, is there maximum extractable value? On Hedera, there's not. So that's very interesting stuff. Let me see here. One thing that was interesting, I had a quick conversation about this with a few people. I don't know the significance of this, but it is very interesting. So, and again, it's not quite clear exactly what this is. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse technically, but there is a GitHub merge that's occurred, and this is introducing a benchmark for reconnecting 500,000 nodes. So essentially what this is about is laying out the foundations to start testing what it would look like to reconnect 500,000 nodes, right? And for people unfamiliar in a decentralized network, or even the current state of Hedera, right? not saying it's not decentralized, but with these governing council nodes, what would happen if, for example, two of the nodes went down, right? As maybe a node has been brought offline for service or whatever it may be, reconnecting a node requires that consensus node to like catch up with everything and get to the proper state of the network before it can start processing transactions. So it's a process that happens. And what this tells me is Swirlds Labs and Hedera is really starting to think about, okay, if we do have community nodes coming online early next year, what that means is that in Hedera's future, you're going to have these situations on the Hedera network as a whole where you may have thousands of nodes or hundreds of thousands of nodes or millions of nodes. And what would happen if, for example, you had 250,000 nodes go down and have to reconnect? What does that look like? And so that's a very interesting question. And it's very interesting to see that question being asked. And that's what this tells me is Hedera, Swirlds Labs, the network is starting to ask the question of what does it look like if this happens? And that's very exciting to see. So again, not exactly sure what it means or what it could equate to. All I can put together in my mind is it's very clear that the steps are being put in place to move forward towards community nodes, which we need to have sooner rather than later. It's a key criticism of the network. And I know the main argument against community nodes is it's not something that's cost effective. It does cost, tens of thousands of dollars per year to run a community node and all these different types of things. But like, can we just get something going? I mean, we subsidize Atma with, tens of millions of HBAR. It's like, can we subsidize a community node? Can we do these types of things? I hope so. I hope we can get some stuff online. So now something else that was very, very, very interesting.